Greetings. Today is day 165 of our Bible reading plan, and I'll be taking you through Psalms 1 to Psalms 8. The theme of these 8 books for me is really peace in the midst of the storm. I'll first start by giving context of one book and then giving overall lessons for me within the 8 books and just give you a verse of the day for me. I'll focus with Psalms 3. Psalm 3 is written or is attributed to King David, and it was written around the time where David was running away from Absalom. The details of the story and the historical context, we'll find them in 2 Samuel chapter 15 to chapter 17. More of this information and the notes we had in our Bible sessions, our Zoom Bible sessions, we can be able to share and get more information. But in summary, we see that Absalom led a rebellion against David, who was his father, and many of David's associates at the time had joined forces with Absalom in pursuing David. So David during this period was under stress and distress because he was under attack. So the book and the Psalms of Psalms 3 is written under that context. So I'll just really go through 8 lessons for me that really around the book from chapter 1 to chapter 8. Lesson number 1, which we find in Psalms 1, is that we must have constant regard to the word of God. It's a general rule in our life. We must have constant regard to the word of God and consider that word night and day, which is we must just meditate upon it night and day. We must consider it night and day. So for me, that's the first point that really comes strong, which is even the root for me of this peace amidst the storm of this theme. So this for me is the root of this whole thing. So that's lesson number 1. Number 2, we see in Psalms 2 that in our rejoicing we must be mindful of the uncertainty of all things in the world. Therefore, we must rejoice with trembling. And this reminds me of the book of Job, which we just finished, that all these things in this world are temporarily, and they are there whether we are good, we are bad, they are given by God and disregard. But in all our rejoicing, in all our gratefulness on the things that we have, we must be with trembling, acknowledging God. So that's what really comes up as lesson number 2 for me, and that is in Psalms 2. In Psalms 3 for me, one thing that really comes out quite strong was God's grace and favor upon our lives that enables us to lie down and rest. And his mercies, not only are they new every morning, but those mercies sustain us. So for me, that's lesson number 3 that comes out. And it follows through to where it goes in Psalms 4, where David says, he even says, I've got confidence in God because I will lie down and sleep. So that's lesson number 4 for me, which goes with Psalms 3 and Psalms 4 going together. Lesson number 5 is quite interesting, which I found in Psalm chapter 5, where David really outlines how our life must be conducted with regards to prayer. 1, says our prayer must be directed to God. Number 2, we must look in expectation from God. And finally, number 3, not only should we look in expectation, but we must believe that God will answer those prayers. So that's what comes out for me in lesson number 5. In Psalms 5. Furthermore, we see something very interesting for me in Psalm 6, where we see the concept of men don't cry. But here we see David dispelling that concept, going on and crying and saying that he cries at night. So for me, it talks of us as human beings and as men, that crying at times is fine when you're going through. Cry for a time and pick up again. Cry for a time and pick up again. So for me, that's one lesson that also came out from there. Interesting enough, we see that in Psalm 7, when David was under attack, the first thing that he starts the Psalms with, he starts by saying, I trust in Lord my God. Again, talking to me around within the times that we are in right now, having COVID-19, many people seeing their jobs going through, the economy being uncertain. But the first thing that we must do at all times is that in God we shall trust. The acknowledgement of David when he was under attack, that he would trust in God. So that's a very good lesson that comes from me. I conclude my lessons in these 8 books by one of many believers' favorite song or prayer. Here is David declaring the excellence of God. How excellent is your name. And furthermore, saying that, introducing a new interesting principle that God uses the weak things to display his glory and strength. And I love this because so out of the mouth of the babes and the infants, God has ordained strength. Finally, the verse of the day for me will be Psalms chapter 4, verse 7. You have put gladness in my heart more than when there are grain and new wine abounds. And this is in line with the theme, peace in the midst of the storm. That there is gladness in my heart in the midst of my circumstances. There is gladness in my heart in the midst of what is happening in front, back, on the sides, and behind me. And this is also say we must have constant regard to God's word. And that's the foundation. We must have constant regard to God's word. We must, and us having constant regard of the God's word, that elevates our knowledge and our understanding and our trustworthiness unto God. And finally, with that, we can then see God's face that will always shine favorable in us. We see God's face that He will always shine upon us. For me, this is a summary of these 8 wonderful Psalms, and I applaud you, and that you may join us as we're going through this journey of reading Psalms. Thank you.